Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the May 28th Finance Committee meeting to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Member Cahill, Member Chaplin,
Here.
Member Childress,
Yes.
Member Covert, Member Desart, Member
Here.
Eckhoff, Member Evans,
Here.
Member Galassi, Member Garcia,
Here.
Member Guston, Member Krajewski, Member LaPlante, Member Ozog, Member Rutledge, Member Schwarzy, Member Tornatori, Member Yu, Member Zay.
Great, thank you. Member Cahill, member, you are here. So great, thank you. Yeah, member you is here. I have no chairwoman remarks. So with that, we will move on to item number 5. No, there's no public comment. We have no public comment. No chairwoman remarks. We're going to move on to the item number 5, approval of the minutes. Can I have a motion on 24-15-48 Finance Committee regular minute meetings from May 14, 2024? I had a motion by member Krajewski, a second by member Zay. Hey, any discussion on the minutes? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. We move on to item 6B, budget transfers. Can I have a motion on 24-1607 transfer of funds from other professional services to employee medical and hospital insurance in the amount of $7,500 to cover employee medical and hospital costs that were not budgeted in the 2024 budget? Who made that motion? Member Ozog? Oh, member Krajewski and member Ozog second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Can I have a motion to approve 24-1608 transfer of funds from subscription IT arrangements to software in the amount of $96,000 to move to funds to capital account software line for fixed invoices for server hosting services in the recorder's office? Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Rutledge. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Can I have a motion on 24-1610 transfer of funds from overtime to benefit payments in the amount of $400 to cover amount of benefit payments that are over the budgeted amount for 2024? I had a motion by member Krajewski, second by member Ozog. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Can I have a motion on 24-1611 transfer of funds from regular salaries to overtime in the amount of $30,000 to cover additional overtime in the current fiscal year human resources? Member Krajewski, you have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Is this related to just the shortages we have there? Because I think I had heard somebody say we had 5, 6, 7, 8 open spots. I mean, we're not even halfway through the year and we're for overtime. The next one on our agenda for the mailroom says it's because of staff shortages. I'm guessing that this has to do with openings, because we have, my understanding, a lot of positions that are not filled in HR.
Hi, Chris will come up. Thank you, Chris.
Okay, yes, we have 3 vacant positions currently. We filled 1, so we have new people coming on, but we do, with the new system coming on too, we do have staff that we anticipate additional time over the regular hours that they're hourly.
Is this to cover because we've been short staffed so much?
A little bit of short staff.
More because of what's coming?
But also with the new system implementation.
Okay.
We anticipate more hours worked.
So people are need to, and you have how many openings currently?
We have 3
Three
full-time.
3 full-time openings right now?
Yes, and we're actively interviewing.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, member Krajewski. Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. And can I have a motion on 24-1612 transfer of funds from regular salaries to overtime, the amount of $7,500 to cover future overtime expenses in the mailroom due to current staffing shortage and coverage for remainder of 2024? I had a motion by member Krajewski, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Okay, great. Thank you. We move on to procurement requisitions, and under finance, I'll call in member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on FIP 0016-24, recommendation approval of a contract purchase order issued to Alliant Insurance Services to provide commercial insurance broker services to the County Finance Department for period June 1, 24 to May 31st, 27. The contract not to exceed $234,000.
I have a motion by member Krajewski, a second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you, member Krajewski. We move on to development and a member Tornatori's absence. I'll call member Rutledge.
Thank you, Chair. I ask for a motion on DCO 33-24, an ordinance to amend chapter 3 of the alcoholic liquor of the DuPage County Code.
I have a motion by member Rutledge, second by member Krajewski. Any discussion? Member Desart?
Thank you. I don't have any discussion because I was at that development meeting, but it was a really interesting discussion and I'm wondering if Jason can just, give us the highlights of it. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, please, Jason.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Member Desart, for the question. I'll talk just about chapter 3, but it does tie into chapter 4 with video gaming terminals, and I'll be very brief. Chapter 3, what we've noticed is over the years, in 2019, the county board removed the ban on video gaming terminals, which made it to where individuals could have a poor liquor license and have video gaming terminals within their establishments. Since then, we were able to review this and see that it doesn't really coincide with the state liquor code and the Video Gaming Terminal Act as well as it can. Myself, as well as the development team or the building and zoning department, legal, as well as the clerk's office has had some where we've been able to look at this and review it, and we've put all of our ideas. With that in mind, as things have changed with Video Gaming Terminal, we wanted to create some licensures that actually reflect the practice that's occurring here in the county. We have some convenience stores and other video gaming establishments that have been getting what's considered a Class A packaged liquor and a Class B restaurant and tavern. That doesn't really coincide with what the actual practice of what they're doing, but they do qualify. So what this does is actually just it solidifies and makes it more conforming what we're already doing in practice. So we create a Class G1 and a Class G2. A G1 license creates a video gaming terminal cafe license, which allows a place to pour alcohol and what allows them to have a video gaming terminal license from the state. And a G2 is an additional license to what is our Class A or packaged liquor. So that convenience store or something like that, they can get that additional license. This does not minimize any of the standards or requirements. It's exactly the same. It's just, again, we're conforming to what state statute has changed to and what we've allowed with the revocation of the ban on video gaming terminals.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Madam Chair. Stay up there, Jason. I'm going to ask you the same thing on the next one.
Thank you, member Desart. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Member Rutledge.
Thank you. I'll ask for a motion on DCO 34-24, an ordinance to amend chapter 4 of the DuPage County Code.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Yu. Member Desart, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jason, again, a little brief summary. Thank
Yeah.
you.
If I may, Madam Chair.
Oh, yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you. So chapter 4 is video game terminal devices. Previously, this was known as the amusement devices. We used to regulate pool tables, the little claw machines. Think of that type of arcade type. It was like a $10 license that they would do. It's not a practice that we really need to do. And to be honest, going in there, it's a waste of our time. So changing it to chapter 4 video game terminals, the state passed, when they passed the Illinois Video Gaming Terminal Act, they were allowed it to where we could have $250 per terminal we could collect. Right now, we have not been doing it. That's a shared cost between the terminal owner as well as the owner of the establishment. So that's a split cost. Most municipalities do charge this $250 per terminal. It's an annual cost. So it'd be about $1,250 because you're allowed to get 6 terminals in a majority of the cases. There is one licensure for state video gaming called Truck Stop, where you're allowed to have 10 terminals. We do have one location here in the county, but other than that, it would be the 6 terminals for each of these restaurants or taverns or whatever you want to, you name it, a video gaming establishment, where we'd collect an extra $1,250 per year for these, as well as they'd be getting a permit. So this would all tie into the liquor code. That's why we're bringing these together at the same time. This is, again, to conform with what we're already doing, and we're missing out on an opportunity that already exists.
I appreciate you. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions? Member Cahill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. What would be the estimated revenue from collection of this fees?
I believe member Krajewski gave us a good number. I think there was it's just like 160 terminal. I would have to double check that. I apologize. I forgot off the top of my head, but it'd be about 160 times the 250. So I want to say that was roughly $30,000. I want to say, I'll double check those numbers, but I think that's right from a little off the cuff math. I don't have my phones on me to.
Yeah.
Roughly 30,000. Let's go with that and I'll amend. I would ask that I can amend that to a little higher if needed.
Thank you, Member Cahill. Member Zay?
Yeah, Jason, that's $250 for non-home rule communities. I think home rule communities can charge $1,500 per machine.
I would have to double check. That sounds right, but I don't remember off the top of my head. I only looked at it from the non-home rule side.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Member Zay. Member Krajewski?
If that's the case, we should probably do something with our legislative committee. I mean, you know, everybody always goes to Springfield and tries to get everybody to be the same, non-home rule and home rule. I know there was an issue several years ago with the hotel tax where the non-home rule towns could only use, none of it could be used for economic development where the home rules could. Then they modified it to allow them to use, 25 or 50%. But a lot of our non-rule home communities are arguing with Springfield, our neighbors get to do it. So when he's saying Carroll Springs, we got the one across the street at 250 and then it's 1,500.
I will take a look at that and then I'll forward it to the chair of the legislative committee if she's okay with that.
We should be able to do the same as the home.
Sure.
rules.
Not a problem. I'll look into that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, Member Rutledge. We move on to economic development and Member LaPlante.
Thank you, Chair. I move on item 7C1, EDCO-124, increase purchase order 6457-1 serve issued to Turning Point Autism Foundation in the amount of $139,441, a 156.43% increase for a new contract amount of $228,582 and extend the contract through May 31st, 2025. This will allow the vendor to successfully continue serving youth in DuPage County with Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Grant funding.
Okay, I have a motion by Member LaPlante, a second by Member Yu, and Member Grant seeking recognition. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just had a question. The memo seemed to indicate that these are federally grant funded programs. But then when I was on the decision memo and at the bottom, it says financial impact for fiscal year 23, 24, 25. And I didn't know who that financial impact is on. Is it that on us or the federal government?
Sounds.
I'm on. These are 100% funded through the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, federal funding that we get.
So do you know what the reference to financial impact for 23,000 or for 2023 in the amount of 4,000, and this year it's 122 and it goes to 101. I just found it curious that that was listed on there. It doesn't impact us.
I actually am not sure what you're referring to. I can take a closer look, but it might be because, I think it's because it could be referring to program year 23 grant funds and then the upcoming program year 24. And so it could be split in that way. But this does not come out of any kind of general funds at all. It's 100% we owe a youth grant fund.
That's what I thought it said, but.
Jeff, did you want to come on up? Yeah, Jeff will help out here. Thank you.
In the decision memo, you'll see the account number 50,000. That's for grants, specifically for grants. That's the financial impact is to the grant.
Well, I'll show you in between. It doesn't
Okay.
say 50,000.
Okay, all right.
We can skip it. I'll show you.
Okay, thank you, Member Eckhoff. Member Krajewski?
Lisa, this is this like just the new 25 allocation of federal grant money? And then is it all being used? Have we used it all up with these contracts or?
So these will not use up the entire allocation. We actually just found out our allocation last week.
Okay.
These contracts were up for completion or renewal. And with these purchase orders, we do get option to renew. All three of the programs on here were successful. So we chose to renew
So
again.
how much money do you have left over then for?
Well, we're in the process of figuring that out, but we'll have a lot left over for our internal operations and then potentially for additional contract programs as well.
When you say a lot, could you have a range with that would be approximately?
So it's a lot of math for a busy day of
You can
meeting.
get back to us.
We'll have taking out our overhead and personnel costs. I mean, we would still have, I would say, between maybe $500,000 and $750,000 for either additional contract extensions, new contracts, or our internal services.
Okay. Do we have other contracts out there that expire in this coming year?
We will have World Relief. Their contract runs through September 30th, so we anticipate re-upping with that one as well. There's one that we did cancel, and then we might be releasing another RFP and looking for some new service providers.
And then are these like for Turning Points, that's just training for some of the students that are at Turning Point for potential work?
Yeah, so Turning Point as well as Parents Alliance, a lot of their programming is like workplace readiness, work skills, and then they do kind of like on-the-job training type experiences and ultimately leading in unsubsidized employment.
Do we potentially talk to them about anything we have over here at the county? I think State's Attorney Berlin was in, had a couple, I don't know if they were from Turning Point or Parents Alliance. But I was just looking, I mean, the one before here, we're paying overtime in the mailroom because we have a shortage of staff. I don't know.
Yes,
If we can talk to them about that too, but I mean, I don't know if we let them know the positions we have that are potentially match the skills that they may have at these places.
yes, there has been a history of that. And I've actually just recently been in discussions with Chris Clevenger in the HR department about possibly identifying some additional opportunities along those lines as well. So we do have
But
participants.
do we have like anything in place now where like HR sends to Turning Point or to whoever the, Parents Alliance, whoever's got the contract, that these are positions potentially at the county that they may have students or people there that, or we don't have a plan in place, just to let them know the opportunities that maybe even here?
I would say not necessarily in like a 100% coordinated fashion, but I push those job leads through to my colleagues at Parents Alliance and Turning Point to an extent also. But that is an area that we could look to explore even more tight kind of coordination with that.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Member Krajewski. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Member LaPlante.
Thank you, Chair. I move on item 7C2 ED-CO-224, increase purchase order 6027-1 serve issued to Parents Alliance Employment Project in the amount of $123,925, a 50% increase for a new contract amount of $371,775, and extend the contract through September 30th, 2025 to continue to successfully serve in-school youth in DuPage County. This is also workforce development.
Okay, I have a motion by Member LaPlante, second by Member Krajewski. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Member LaPlante.
Thank you, Chair. I move on item 7C3 ED-CO-324, I move to approve increase purchase order 6028-1 serve issued to Parents Alliance Employment Project in the amount of $434,123, a 68.34% increase for a new contract amount of $1,069,409 and extend the contract through September 30th, 2025 to continue to successfully serve out-of-school youth in DuPage County, also workforce development.
I have a motion by Member LaPlante, a second by Member Yu. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Member LaPlante.
Thank you.
We move on to Judicial Public Safety. Member Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move on JPS-CO-4-24. Recommendation for the approval of an amendment to purchase order 5757-1 serve for a contract issued to Flock Group, Inc. for the purchase of Flock Falcon cameras to increase the contract in the amount of $17,500, resulting in an amended contract total amount not to exceed $280,000.
Have a motion by Member Evans, a second by Member Cahill. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Member Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next, I'd like to move on JPSP-16-24. Recommendation for the approval of a contract to Justice Text, Inc. for the purchase of audiovisual evidence management software licenses for the Public Defender's Office for the period of July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025 for an amount not to exceed $45,000.
I have a motion by Member Evans, a second by Member Yu. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, Member Evans. We move on to Public Works. Member Garcia.
Thank you, Chair Chaplin. I make a motion to approve FMP 002324. Recommendation for the approval of a contract to Weatherproofing Technologies, Inc. for annual roof inspection, maintenance, and minor repair as needed for campus roofs for facilities management for the period of May 29th, 2024 through October 31st, 2026, for a total contract amount not to exceed $289,469.22.
Motion by member Garcia, second by member Rutledge. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Member Garcia.
I make a motion to approve FMP 002424, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Clark Dietz, Inc. to provide professional engineering and design services for the installation of a new photovoltaic systems at the 421 and 501 buildings and on-call engineering and design services for the county campus for facilities management for the period of May 28th, 2024 through November 30th, 2025, for a total contract amount not to exceed $68,400.
Motion by member Garcia, second by member Rutledge. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, member Garcia. We move on to transportation and member Ozag.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move for approval of DTP 003724, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Traffic Control Corporation for annual maintenance and support services for the Division of Transportation's Centrac software system for the period July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025, for a contract total not to exceed $36,052, not suitable for competitive bids, sole source proprietary software maintenance and support.
Motion by member Ozag, second by member Yu. Any discussion? Member Krajewski?
What kind of software is this, Bill, that it's used for?
Hi, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Hello, thank you. So this is the software that we use to talk to all the traffic signals and all of our video cameras that are out on the street. So if you come to our office and you see our little traffic center, I know some of you have been to, that's the software that manages it.
Okay, so, and do other counties have other systems, or does everybody use the same one, so the same software?
Many of the counties and the state are using the same one. There's a few others out there, but this is a common one.
Okay, and so because that's proprietary then, so we'd have to change the whole system in order if we went
Right.
somewhere else.
Right, and any of them would be proprietary. Once you change into it. you're
Once you
with that
get it,
one.
then you're stuck with their
Yeah,
software.
Their ongoing maintenance costs, yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Member Ozag?
Thank you. I move for approval of DTP 003824, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Collins Engineers Incorporated to provide professional bridge inspection services for various locations upon request for the period May 28th, 2024 through May 31st, 2026, for a contract total amount of $250,000, professional services vetted through a qualification-based selection process.
Okay, I have a motion by member Ozag, a second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Member Ozag?
Thanks. I move for approval of DTR 002124, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Morton Salt Incorporated to furnish and deliver bulk rock salt as needed for the Division of Transportation for the period June 1st, 2024 through May 31st, 2025, for a contract total amount of $1,108,500 per lowest responsible bid.
Motion by member Ozag, second by member Garcia. Go ahead, member Garcia.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. Since we had a very light winter last year, I'm just wondering what our salt supply is now, and is this just gonna, give back what we used last year, or is this just our normal order?
Welcome again, Bill.
Sure. So the way we purchase, we have a range of quantity that we can purchase. So we advertise a specific amount. The contract allows us to go down to 80% of that amount at the same price, or up to 130, I think it is, percent at the same price. And obviously, if that happened, we'd be coming forward with an increase. As far as what we've got on hand, I know my staff goes through and they look at what we have before they put the bid together. So this bid is based on filling back up the salt domes and what we expect we would likely use next year, but it's not just, every year we order the exact same amount.
Okay, thank you, member Garcia. Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Member Ozag?
Thanks. I move for approval of DTR 002224, intergovernmental agreement between the County of DuPage and York Township to extend road resurfacing beyond county right-of-way on multiple side streets along Myers Road, within the township. County to be reimbursed $6,333.53.
Motion by member Ozak, second by member Yu. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, member Ozak. We move on to finance resolutions. Now call on member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on FIR 88 24, additional appropriation for the Illinois State Opioid Response Criminal Justice grant for increasing from 75,000 to 105,000, $30,000 increase.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Guston. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on FIR 89 24, accept an appropriation for an additional funding from the Illinois Department of Human Services Supportive Housing Grant going from $154,180 to $167,996, increase in $13,816.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Schwarze. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on FIR 90 24, resolution authorizing an addition of one full-time headcount to the staff of the Building and Zoning Department.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on FIR 91 24, resolution to approve the payment to Downers Grove Area Fish in the amount of $50,000 for funding approval under the Infrastructure Investment Grant Program, Round 1, ARPA item.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Schwarze. Member Desart.
Thank you. You know, I wondered about this because it seems like kind of an outlier. There wasn't a lot in the board packet about this Downers Grove area fish, but it seems as though we've already appropriated that first round of money for the food pantry infrastructure investment program. So is Mary around to answer this question? Is this a late comer?
Okay, member Schwarze, you'll answer it.
Yeah, thank you.
So, thank you, member Desart. So this item was approved as part of the Round 1 infrastructure program. And Fish submitted a grant request for the $50,000 for a delivery van. It turns out we did not catch the fact that they purchased this van in June and we didn't even start the program until August. So it slipped through the cracks. We approved it. We approved it as a board. It was brought to my attention in late last month saying, hey, they really technically wouldn't have fallen into the qualifications of getting that. But because we approved it and it is, benefiting the residents of DuPage County, we decided to go ahead and follow through with our acceptance of it. But we just wanted to take it off. We wanted to approve it this way because it didn't really fit into the category. So this money was already earmarked out of the infrastructure program. We're just taking it off that program and putting it here.
So they bought the van before they were approved.
They bought it with their own money and then they submitted a grant request to be reimbursed. We just did not catch it.
All right, thanks, member Schwarze. I just wondered why this was an outlier from the, it's one of the big tranches that we've been approving.
Thank you.
So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, member Desart. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We move on to informational, and I'll call on member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Move to receive and place on file informational items: A, payment of claims; B, wire transfers; C, grant proposal notifications.
Okay, I have a motion by member Krajewski and a second by member Garcia to receive and place on file items A, B, and C under informational. All in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. We move on to item number 10 and we're in discussion. So our first discussion is going to be the travel agency discussion, and we're going to have Jason and Nick come up. Okay, welcome, guys.
You want me to lead off?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
All right. As you guys see in front of you, there's a memo that I drafted for you all about the travel agency, specifically Riverdale, which we brought to you 2 weeks ago on the county board agenda. It elicited some great questions, and I wanted to put some clarifying points within there just to call it out overall. Back in September, again, last year, that's when we changed our travel policy. Inquiry came up as to how we do payment of services like that. That's when we put out the RFP to look at a travel agency to cover it to where employees wouldn't have to front some of those costs as that was suggested. So this is the results of the RFP. And then the number that, again, we saw in that for just over $250,000 was just to put a dollar amount on the PO. That wasn't a guarantee of how much was going to be spent. The cost for this was that $1,000 implementation fee. So, and I think from there, you guys indicated you wanted to have a discussion on it, and we're here to answer questions. And
Okay.
Mr. Cotler.
I wanted to add a couple items on there. One, as Jason said, it's important to realize the money going to the travel agency, $1,000 upfront. And then each time that they are utilized, you can see the pricing there. So an airline ticket, 35. So that would be, but the $1,000 is one time for the course of the contract. But the two discussion points we have, this one and the credit card, are kind of intermingled. Because one is related to the other. The reason why we have this on the agenda, why we moved it forward, that was probably our biggest complaint by our staff out there. The fact that they would have to front travel. They were having to do that and then waiting 30, 60 days for reimbursement. This is solving probably 80% of the concerns we've had across the county with a credit card. So they are very closely intermingled. The nice thing about this is that we then receive, it's easy. There's documentation of what it is. We have a list that we get for the invoice. And more importantly, our employees do not have to front this money. They can still, if they still prefer doing it themselves, they can. This gives them the option. So that takes away a lot of the argument that we've heard why we need credit cards is exactly this. So they are kind of intermingled.
Great. Oh my goodness. Okay, I will just take the front row first, then we'll move to the second row. Okay, so member Cahill, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Couple questions. So the 254,588, is that what is anticipated for FY 25? Or is that the additional amount that would be added to FY 24, the 121,000 already there?
So the 254,588 was a hold number. It was from the travel lines that's already been budgeted. What we've asked, we originally were going to do this a pilot. It got a little bit more traction than we intended. It was just the county board agent departments, so that wasn't the county-wides. That 254 is the departments who have said that they find this interesting. They've taken whatever was in their travel line and put that as the full amount that would go to that PO.
For what year?
For this year.
So that would go into FY 24.
Yes.
So it looks like you already have 121,000 in there, so that would be 376,000 budgeted when, the highest year so far has been 330. Why are we budgeting so much?
And let me say that the travel, and this is actually where I'm going to ask our deputy finance what our actual dollar amount is for that right now. I apologize, I didn't put that on. What's budgeted for FY 24 for travel with all the? Sorry, she had that number. I apologize.
Through May is 121.
Correct. That's what's been spent so far, but the actual budgeted in the FY 24 budget, hold on, give me 1 second here to.
The FY 2024 budget for just the travel lines for all funds is $820,877.
Okay.
As Jason said, originally, we were going to do just the departments reporting to you.
Okay.
But once this discussion has started, it's definitely caught on like wildfire. We've heard the same requests from all of the EOs out there going, hey, we want to be part of that. We definitely want to have that option for our employees. So it definitely has grown in interest out there
Well,
across the
just a
county.
follow-up, why is it the total FY 23 cost of travel was 330,000? And then you're saying the total budgeted this year is 800,000?
Is that because we're including all the?
Yeah. The 330 was the actual spent last year. Yes. So I would have to look and see what the budgeted was for last year real quick. I mean,
Okay,
It sounds like what, and
maybe it was
correct me if I'm wrong,
reimbursements.
the actual spend was $330,000 in 2023, the actual
Okay.
spend.
Okay,
And so the budgeted and actual, big difference. The
Right.
other thing I want to say, the amount this isn't a contract necessarily that we have to spend with this agency. This is kind of as our employees utilize it, it will be drawn down from that. It's by no means a contract saying we're going to spend that.
So if I just might interject real quick. So the total from 2023, did that include all the elected officials as well?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And one other question. So looking at the cost of using the online booking tool, I assume that that's a search engine in there so that they have all the different options available, just like you see on Kayak and everywhere else.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And we actually, myself and our chief procurement officer had a demo this morning just to reiterate it and make sure I can answer any questions that may arise today. So yes,
Okay,
it's
thank-
roughly the same, very simple tool.
Okay, thank you, Member Cahill. Member Glassy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So a couple questions. The $1,000 setup fee, that's just a one-time fee. It's not annual.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then Nick, you said this solution would, or this would be a solution for 80%.
The concerns I've heard from department heads, from employees over the years has been, you want me to travel for work, but yet I've got to put it on my own personal credit card and carry that. And it especially compounds, let's say you have a cap issue or something like that. Those are concerns, and that's true. And they're like, well, can't you buy it? And we haven't been able to. So does it solve all of our concerns? No. I can tell you that, I talked today with Lisa Shavak over at WorkNet. She has a different set of concerns, but this is the vast majority of the concerns we've heard from our employees.
Okay, so that's what I was wondering. I totally understand the employees' concerns and I understand how this solves it. And I did actually hear from Lisa Shavak last week about her concern, but what would some of the, can you just give examples of what that other 20% would be that this isn't solving?
Well, one aspect, Nick can elaborate from there. One is conference registration. Some of these conferences
Okay.
don't allow it. In past, we've gotten an invoice and been able to pay it. As people are shifting, they're shifting to the model. If you have to put a credit card or in something, that part I haven't figured out how to fix that part yet.
Got it. That makes sense.
There
Thank you for
are-
that example.
There are certain purchases that we experience throughout the year that can only be done by a credit card. Registering for a website or registering different things can only be done by a credit card. Some of the purchases we did during COVID, Treasurer Henry, we used her credit card down there to buy all the laptops. Some of those type of Amazon purchases are only credit card allowed.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you. And I just would like to say that for the nominal expense that it would cost to, book an airline ticket or all these different things that are listed, I think this is a very good solution as opposed to the risk that we would take, issuing everyone credit cards. So I really do support this.
And one thing that we were glad to hear from them was about if we purchase refundable tickets, which is what we can require people, if it's refunded, it goes into our account, we can use it for the next moving forward. So it has that little bit of benefit to us, but you're right. It's a nominal fee, yes, but that secures us from having to lose out on other costs.
Right. There are other aspects that actually make this attractive. Yes, there is some fee upfront, but how trackable it is, the fact we get monthly invoices, the fact we have a travel agent, you would hope that we're going to maybe try to get the lowest possible travel expenses out there. The refunds are a big one because it creates a whole rigmarole if somebody books it and they can't travel and a refund, how that works. So there's a lot of things this does clean up and make it actually more open and easily, understood.
I do, yeah, just as a follow-up to that comment, I do think that even though there's a nominal fee to book a ticket or whatever, I think having a travel agent involved, we might end up, net positive because they're going to be saving us money, finding us the least expensive ticket. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Glassy. And just really quick on the refund, do we get the fee back to like the $10 fee or do they keep that? Do you guys know?
I don't believe so. No, I'm getting the head nod. No, so no, we do
keep
not.
the
They
fee.
keep the $10.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. Member Garcia.
Thank you. I was actually one of the ones that was a little bit doubtful of the travel agency, but I know I've talked to some staff members now, and I really see the benefits for this versus a credit card. I think you're going to have to do a little bit of a modification with both due to the fact that the conferences do require that. But I think that it is onerous of us to ask the employees to be paying for their own when we require them to get the certifications updated and everything. So I think that this does actually serve a purpose now. I've actually heard that. I've seen it. I changed my mind completely. And so I'll be in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Garcia. Member Yu.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So my question actually centers around those departments that determined that they would like to not participate. And it says here that not all of them did, and I just wanted to know why that was the case, and if this is going to be something that's going to be like a, blanket policy for everybody, which seems to make more sense to make it standardized, or is it just gonna be by department?
I
by
think like
department?
all things, we'd like to see how it starts out, and they might, but some departments also may not really have that much travel. So that might be why that they've decided or elected not to participate.
Well, and the one thing I'll make clear, our employees still have the option with what we have that they can, let's say they're going down to Springfield for a conference. They can call down to the hotel and book their hotel themselves and not have to use the travel agency. So it's not a requirement at this point.
Okay, so thank you, Member Yu. So I have Member Ozog, Member Rutledge, Member Zay, Member Schwarzy, Member Krajewski, Member Desart, and Member Guston. Okay, so Member Ozog.
So the 20% of employees who decide to use, thank you, Madam Chair, the 20%, if they want to book any kind of travel, air, et cetera, I assume they get to keep the miles. What happens with miles that are booked through the travel agent? Do we get them?
So you are,
I like my miles,
yeah, no,
obviously.
so with the software, actually, the individual employee would be able to add in their rewards miles if they'd like to and use that.
Through
as
the
a possi-
travel agent?
Through the travel agency. That is something that you can do it.
Oh,
Yeah, so you
okay.
would be able to get that if you're that individual. But additionally, if I remember correctly, Valerie, there is that bank that the agency collects, and we possibly get benefits on exchanges and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, so I'm not clear. So could
I'm
you,
not quite
could
clear.
you repeat that?
Actually,
Yeah.
Valerie, can you come up here for a second? You
Because
said it earlier a lot better this way. So
Somebody's getting the miles.
I'm trying,
Yeah.
well, yeah, the employee, if they put theirs in.
They put
would
their
get it.
card, fine.
Yes, the frequent flyer, but I'll let Valerie, she had a really good answer.
Okay.
With
Thank
each
you.
employee profile, you can put in your frequent flyer miles in
Okay.
there. You will get those. If it is canceled, you normally get them taken away, of
Right.
course. But then they go into a bank for us. So it depends on how if the ticket is unused, it does come back to the county.
Okay.
So you won't benefit from the miles, but we'll get our money back.
Okay. So there's no real miles for the county to accrue,
No,
assuming. Okay. Now what if somebody books it and they don't have an account with, say, United or something? Is there some way for the county to get miles? I don't know if it's worth it or whatever.
we don't get the miles now, but when you do book and you don't have a mileage plus
Sign up
on
for
the
it,
account,
right?
but you have the option to do so when you do. book.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Member Ozog. Member Rutledge.
Thank you, Chair Chaplin. I think this is kind of a no-brainer because I'm always a last-minute booker. I procrastinate that stuff. My husband was the travel guy and I just don't always get it. So the nominal fee, $35, I think that, just enough in advance would easily benefit from a lower ticket price because they're going to be ahead of that game. So I'm all in favor of this. So.
Okay, thank you, Member Rutledge. Member Zay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank staff for this. Our staff has different economic issues here. And it's just not travel. We're talking about airline or whatever. This could be just going to Springfield or Peoria or going somewhere for training. And they'd have to put the hotel on their credit card. Once they don't have room on their credit card, what kind of stress does that cause to our employees when they do that? This gives them the option. Again, if employees want to do this, and that's great, and it takes the stress off of them. But if they still want to do it the old way, that option's still there for them, so they can still do that. My question is, since I don't travel, what's the policy we do for board members? Do they go through the same process as every other employee?
So there's two different, with it, we have two different things that govern board members. One is the, Illinois Local Government Travel Act, something like, I can't remember the exact title off the top of my head, but there is for local elected officials. That's where you see your guys' travel come to the county board meeting because it has to be properly noticed and approved by the board. But the secondary is it does have to abide by the travel policy you guys passed in September.
So they go through the same reimbursement
Correct.
that
Correct.
every employee does?
Yeah, the board members can do either or. Yeah.
So I mean,
sorry.
so it's the same. I just want to make sure we're treating
Yes,
the employees the same way we're treating ourselves.
correct, yes.
Board members can pay for it themselves, or they can use a travel agency, just like all the employees.
Correct. Yeah, that doesn't change it. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I thought the approval process is what you're going with. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Zay. Member Schwarzy, then Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So if I recall, a couple weeks ago when we talked about this originally, it was this program versus department or countywide credit cards or something to be able to do this. So, so I guess my question to you is, in your expert opinion, is using this versus countywide credit cards better or worse?
This is absolutely better. It's definitely trackable. You know, you can make sure it absolutely is. You're gonna see, not to steal a thunder, but this will solve most of the concerns. Our recommendation to this board is gonna be, don't move forward on credit cards. That's gonna be our recommendation in 5 minutes.
I would support this then. Thank you.
One thing about controls on that, as we found out today, there is an option where before the employee actually finalizes their booking, has to be approved by manager. So there are some checks and balances as well with that.
Thank you. Thank you, Member Shorzy. Member Krajewski?
Thank you. I guess I'll save one of the questions till the next discussion, but just to pick back up on what Member Cahill was talking about, when we got these revenues in here and, 2022 and 2023, we had 282,000 actual and 330,000 actual, which are our two highest years. Then you had COVID before that. And we're saying we budgeted 800,000 for this year. As we're leading into this budget season.
Yes, let's take
The budget, it's a great budgeting question.
We need to hone in on these budgets because we always budget way more than we actually spend. We need to get closer to actually the actual amount when we do the budget. So, I mean, if we spent our highest one ever was 330 last year, I could see you budgeting maybe in travel 380, 370, but 800,000? I mean, again, that.
We're gonna have an asterisk on 800,000.
Remember, just one quick thing too, with this, the contract that we're putting with Riverdale that we proposed, it does have some FY 25, as Valerie's just indicating to me. I hadn't realized that there is partial amounts.
But irregardless, it has nothing to do with Riverside.
I just wanted to put that asterisk.
You
Sorry.
are absolutely correct.
You
There's
just
far
said
more
we had-
budgeted than utilized for travel.
We've spent 800,000 we budgeted for this coming year, and we've never spent
Correct.
more than 330,000.
You are correct.
So clearly, and yeah, we're only at 121 and almost 6 months through it. So clearly that budget line and all the EOs and everywhere else is way overinflated. But that's just a microcosm of all of their line items that are overinflated because for the last 4 years, we've had a huge amount of surplus, half of it due to revenue, but the other half is because our actual expenses are never anywhere near what we budgeted. And these EOs and internally, we budget super high, but they never, look what they spend actually in prior years, they're never anywhere near that. So for us to get a better true budget, we need to make sure that we hone in this coming budget season to get it more closely to what it really resembles. Because I mean, that's 800,000 versus 330 last year.
50%.
And more than that. So thank you.
Thank you, Member Krajewski. Member Desart?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we're having this discussion so it's easier for our employees to not take on this burden and to be able to travel when they need to travel. And as part of this discussion a couple of weeks ago, not only did we talk about travel agency versus credit card, but we also discussed staff looking into other governmental agencies and how they do it. As I've said before, I had to go to San Diego for a conference. They paid for the conference, airfare, hotel, even the food stipend. They gave me a check up front. So I had, other than a couple of incidentals, cab fare, I'm sorry. They paid for everything up front. Did we have a chance? My question is this, did we have a chance to check with other governmental agencies about how they do it?
We have checked with other area counties out there and probably, and correct me if I'm wrong, I know that was done. Lake County has a 10-page credit card policy. And I mean, it is just, and whenever you see these credit card policies, they're usually born from an issue that occurred. And then something occurred and then they add on and then so that's what you get. That 10-page policy is probably what scared us most with where we're coming from. I mean, I will tell you, the smaller governmental agencies tend to have credit cards. The larger ones tend to be more shy of it. That's what we're finding.
Thank you, Nick. And one more comment, and that is that, as I said before, a couple of weeks ago, when I was on the school board, everybody and their brother had a credit card, and we tried to really cut that back and grab those back. So I'm in favor of the travel agency. Thank you.
And to be honest with you, my recommendations with the credit card is going to be like, listen, hopefully this solves most of our concerns. We come back to you guys in 6 months or a year. We revisit it, see how it goes, and maybe talk about credit cards at that time, but I'd like to see how, if this is acceptable to the board, move forward with this, and then we can always revisit the credit cards in the future at a different time.
Thank you, Member Dessart. And as long as Member Dessart asked about government entities, do any other government entities, does this company work with any other government entities? Do you know? Okay.
Sorry. Yes, they do. They have state and counties and cities
Okay,
and
great.
universities.
Great.
So they have a
Okay,
lot.
good. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. And then I have Member Guston and then Member Rutledge again. So Member Guston?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Jason, Nick, thank you very much for answers in my Q&A today on this issue. I really don't like the fact that employees have to front the money on their charge cards. There's really no need for that, particularly now that we have an agency that can do it for us. So I think it's a wonderful thing. I am concerned about the budget though, as far as 800,000 versus what we actually spent in 2023. Which was the 300,000. So we need to look at that at the next budget. The one thing I'd love to also at that point is to kind of take a little look at how many were local trips, how many were online educational type things, and then how many were out of state, because I know you had shared with me our travel policy and traveling is expensive, particularly if you're traveling out of state. So in the next, when we're looking at the budget, if we could have a breakdown of that also, that would be helpful.
We can look into that. One thing I can say, I know when it's traveling outside of our direct area, we have with the new travel policy, we actually have the forms you have to submit for approval of your committee chair. So that's very easily trackable. Let me find out about the other side.
Good. And then just one point of clarification. When you said you put your member number in to the agency information, is that then those, let's say I have Southwest Airlines and you spend so much money, spend 120,000 a year, you get a companion fare. So maybe we could do that, is just call Southwest and say, hey, we'll use your charge card as you give us some free flights. I'm just kidding. But if there is a membership that's tied to this, is it going to be one membership for the county and then those benefits come back to the county, or will it be a membership that'll be for that employee and then wherever it's going to go?
For the employee.
And it'll go back to the employee?
Yes.
Okay, that I need a clarification on. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Member Guston. And then Member Rutledge.
Thank you, Chair Chaplin. So I'm kind of going through my mind, NACO's coming up and I'm thinking, okay, we're going to have to book travel pretty soon. So will I be able to deal directly with an agent at this travel agency to get the airline of my choice and to get the hotel of my choice and to get my frequent flyer?
Yes, the simple answer is yes. If you talk to a live consultant, and you can do it with the online tool as well, but either or you would be able to get both, any of the things that you're mentioning.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Rutledge. Member Dessart, real quick.
Thank you. And that brings up a great question, Member Rutledge. How does this work in real life? Number one, you have to go to a concert or a conference and it's, hundreds of dollars, $400, $500, $600. How is that paid for if we don't have the credit card, which I'm not in favor of? Number one, how is that paid for? And number two, who calls the travel agency? The person who's traveling or their boss, or what does it look like?
So we would have to create some procedures to ensure that to be 100%. But what would be based off of the conversation we had, you guys would be able to use somebody here on staff too to assist you on getting that booked like we have done currently. But we would create that, it'd be the 1-800 number or whatever that might be, or the online tool. I mean, obviously we haven't implemented it yet, so we'd have to look at that final implementation and then we would set that.
I do want to clarify one point.
I'm sorry, Nick, I wasn't talking about the board. I was talking about, one of our employees having to go to a weatherization conference in Springfield. How are they going to get their hotel booked?
So two parts. The conference is one thing. That has to be either they have to the conference has to bill us, or that will be a reimbursement. Because the conference can't be booked through the travel agent, but your hotel, car rental, plane, that can go through the travel agent. And the travel agent can you can go online, do it yourself. You can give them a call to do it for you. but the conference is still, the conference costs $300 for the conference. A lot of conferences, if you book it far enough ahead of time, we found out they actually will invoice us and then the department can pay it directly, which is great. If it's last minute, that will go on a credit, the employees or the county board's credit card.
And thank you, Nick, because that is concerning. Some of these conferences are like $600. What if I don't have that available on my credit card?
Most of them that we've found, as long as it's ahead of time, will invoice us. We've been able to, they say absolutely will invoice you, but if it's the week before, that's a tough one.
Just really quick, and then I'll ask the member Ozak, but what % of our travel is conference? I mean, is it the majority?
I would say almost all of it. Almost
So-
all of it.
So if all of it's conference, then how do we use this travel agency? If we can't use a
Well,
travel
You
agency?
use a travel agency for the flight, for the hotel, for the car.
Oh, okay, I got you.
So
You're
the
just talking the
only thing-
registration fee.
The
I
only
gotcha, I
thing
gotcha.
That is the missing link is the cost of the actual conference.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, thank you. Member Ozak?
Just a practical question. I want to pay for my flight. I'm going to a conference. Do I access this site and then submit my information and then the travel agency
So
books it? Is that how this works?
you want, wait, you want them
I want to do it on computer.
on your own? You want to do it
Okay.
on your own?
So I'm doing it on my, well, no, I want to go through the travel agent and I submit it to them and then they take care of it. Is that how this works?
Through the-
Pretty
Yeah,
much.
So there's two options, member Rosa. We could talk to a live person, an actual travel agent. That's when you would talk to them, tell them some
Okay,
things.
fine.
Or you can do it on the online portal, which is, I believe it's called Concord, is that the appropriate? So use Concord, much like as we said with Kayak, Expedia. You would get a user account created for you with
Okay.
your name, your information, and on there it would have, you can either put it as the charge that we get the invoice here at the county, or you could enter your own. If for some
Okay.
reason you said, I don't want the county to pay for it, but I want to use this service, there's a way to do that, yes.
So how do they know that this is a legitimate request?
So that's where there is some checks and balances. There would have to be approval by a manager. We
And that
create
approval
that-
would have to be submitted somehow,
Yes.
PDF or something like that? I
Yes, so in what we saw today, and just correct me if I'm saying anything wrong or getting in it. What it would be is the individual, the employee, whomever would submit the request saying, this is what we're gonna do.
To their manager.
Supervisor, manager.
Okay,
That person would have to check it and say, yep, that's the thing.
okay,
Now, that would only occur after the travel request form was done. So per the
Right.
travel request or travel policy, there's the request form now. If it's under $2,500, it gets signed by the parent committee chair. If it's over 2,500, it has to be approved by the parent committee. So
Okay.
that approval would have to occur to make this a justified expense.
and then that is transmitted to the travel agency?
We would have to work out the logistics of that.
Okay.
Yeah, no, they indicated us that they work with everybody's travels policies and
Okay.
make sure that occurs. So that part we'd have to do upon implementation and tell them what the expectation.
So there's some kind of a firewall between
Correct.
how you use, okay.
Okay, so,
You will let us know how that all.
We have to first see what the option is.
okay, so this solves half our problem. That way I'm looking at it, right? Because we still don't, it's not taking care of the registration fees. So
Registration.
this is solving half the problem, not the whole problem. So I think let's talk about the credit card discussion and then we come back and we discuss the two and which direction maybe we want to go in. Is that, unless you guys still have more, do you have more questions on this one? Member Kajewski?
I just want to know how many counties around our college, just the CFO has a credit card, because there's so many, you don't have to tell me now, you can tell me later. There's just so many things you have to put on credit cards here.
Yeah.
Just having the treasurer, that I think our CFO should have, finance department should have one. So when they're registering conference or whatever, or having to buy stuff that's online, I would just like to know how many Collar counties finance department at least have a credit card, because I think we have so many other things that could be solved by that. Maybe you already know the answer.
We sent out a general survey, and we got replies back from, I think, 5 places, in the northeastern area. And I would say that 3 of them, the county CFOs had it. Some of the others don't have it at all. Yeah, but,
Which is only
you know,
county, I would just be concerned about the 5 around.
doesn't have any right now.
Lake, Will, Kane, Kendall, Cook. Is what
Yeah,
they have.
Cook, no, Lake, yes, McHenry, yes. We heard back from Macon, yes. So, the smaller counties seem like they were more
I
likely
just
to.
talking more about the bigger ones, because I mean, there's so many things that we have to put on credit cards. I mean, it goes past conferences, registrations, the software, certain things we have to use this. And I know sometimes we don't even get it from the treasurer. We just late in payment, try to get them to invoice us. I mean, I don't know, but I think we should at least have one more for things that come up.
Thank you, Member Krajewski. Okay, Member Say, go ahead.
We're talking credit cards.
Well, I guess we're going to move on. If
Yeah.
we're okay with
Well,
moving on to credit card discussion,
I
let's
think,
go.
I mean, I would rather give an okay with the travel agency and then do
Well,
it
I
separate.
think,
if
you know
they-
what, I think because talking about the credit card, I don't know if it will change people's minds, but we can take a thing on the travel agency if you guys, how many are for the travel agency? Okay, we have an overwhelming majority. Okay,
We will bring that back to the next finance and board for approval.
okay, now we're going on to the credit card. Go ahead, Member Say.
Yeah, I think it's crazy that the treasurer's no one has a credit card. I think our finance department should have one. And so then when we do have departments that have to go for conferences and everything else, we can go through the finance department who should be in charge of the money, right? And they should do that if we need to. I mean, again, if we can still get an invoice to us, that would be the option. If we can't, I mean, I think that would be the other option, is to have finance do it. Again, if we've got purchases that, we're gonna get a discount, or we're gonna be able to do it with, I don't know how many there are, but I mean, I'd like to hear from finance to see what their thoughts are on having a credit card. I don't want to give them one, they're like, no, we don't want it, we really don't need it. I mean, that's the option.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. Because over the years, I've seen misuse. And my concern is I don't want to be responsible for misuse. And, we have to define then what we're going to use the credit card for. Besides travel, signing up for conferences, then what's next? We try really hard and pretty much demand that departments get a invoice from a vendor, and then it's paid through our normal control procedures to pay a vendor. So, with a county our size, it does lead to headaches when you expand the use of what the credit card can be used for. Now, I've had credit cards in a lot of smaller institutions. Even then, you're constantly chasing the paperwork. You're running up against the deadline to get late fees. I've had people that would write down the credit card number, the expiration date, and the CVC number, and then use it without telling anybody. So then you don't know who uses a credit card. Again, in a smaller institution, it's easier to track that stuff down, but in a large one like us, it would be difficult. So that's why I'm kind of resistant to expand the use of credit cards. I know we had.
The one thing we did talk about that might alleviate some of it is the possibility, and maybe you guys are an expedited paying policy. If there's something like, hey, I need this paid now, maybe we can work with the treasurer, work internal. Maybe we could do something instead of the longer length for one-off things, and expedited policy to pay invoices or procurements to maybe eliminate some of the need here. But that's an option too we can explore.
Gwen, did you want to come up and address that? Oh, no, we need you at the microphone. I know. Thank you, Gwen.
March is the year 2014. And we are very careful about who that credit card being used. It has to be an expense that cannot be paid some other way, or they can't get accounts payable to get it done in time. The biggest ones we had were during the pandemic. We actually took out a second credit card. We had one for 50,000. That didn't cover it. We raised that one to 100,000. We took another one for 150,000. We spent a lot of money that time buying stuff for the pandemic that the county could not get, didn't have time to process. We were always in the office, could always pay the bill and get the credit card out. So there was no problem with that. And that was one of the reasons we did it. We have not had any defalcations or anything with it. We have very few charges come through. We don't have people traveling on it. They really are doing expenses that they can't get processed through accounts payable in time, or they will not accept an accounts payable check. They need the money too soon. The vendor does. So that's why we do it. We have, it's worked very well. We have the card under lock and key. So it is not available to anybody to just come in and use it. And so, and just so you know, when we got it through Wintrust Bank because we did business with Wintrust. But I had to put up my own credit to be able to get the card. Because at that point, they wouldn't take DuPage County's credit. But they were still doing the new cards at that point and doing them for businesses. So I think I'm now off of the card as credit, but I was there at the time. But it has worked very well. We have no problems with it. I think you have to be very careful who does spend and and what it's spent for. And it's reported. So when somebody comes and says we need it, they bring us some receipt. They can prove that it's in their budget. And it actually goes through the auditor before the bill is finally paid, before the credit card bill is paid. So it's not just out there loosey-goosey. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Gwen. I have Member Cahill and then, oh wait, I'm sorry. I have Member Garcia, then Member Cahill, Member Evans.
Thank you, Treasurer. So I'm over here.
I didn't see where you were.
That's okay. You explained a lot of how the procedure is, and I really appreciate that. Thank you again for putting your own credit up too. That's just still mind-boggling. I think, and I feel that this has been a system that has been working. And for clarification from staff, I believe you said that the most of the conferences were invoiced. So I don't think that this is going to be.
No, we don't get the conferences.
Right, that would go to but that comes to an
To
invoice to
accounts
their
payable.
department, correct? Right?
Right.
So then a credit card would not be needed for that.
Right.
So then again, the travel agency seems to me that would be the solution that would probably solve most of the issues. And I personally feel that would be onerous on the managers themselves if we were to give out more credit cards, because if people are wanting to do something, then they have to be there to actually put the number in because they don't want to give their credit cards out. I just think that we're just asking for issues there that probably we don't want to be dealing with. So I actually think that we should just keep the credit card situation the way.
We're not suggesting that our credit card handles people's travel.
No.
Yes,
No.
yes.
No, and thank you for the explanation. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Garcia. Member Cahill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Treasurer Henry, for that explanation. And thank you for being so wonderful about keeping the checks and balances and safe and secure. I really appreciate that. And I also agree that we should not expand the credit card policy at all. And when our finance manager tells us that he does not want to have a credit card, even though members A wanted to give him a credit card, we need, it's just not a good idea, and it's not fiscally responsible, and things are working the way they are with Treasurer Henry. So I say, let's leave everything the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Cahill. Member Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm glad the consensus is that the credit card idea is probably not the best idea. I'm a former Secret Service agent, and part of my job was to investigate credit card fraud and identity theft. And so thank you, Member Zay. And so when you introduce credit cards to, people, the opportunity for fraud, waste, and abuse is just very high, especially if we're just using it. If it's working now, I say, let's just leave it the way it is.
Thank you, Member Evans. Member Shorzy.
Member Cronin Cahill said everything I was going to say, so
Okay,
I'll pass.
thank you. Member Kajewski.
Yeah, I had the same thing as Member Zay. We're just giving Jeff the opportunity if he wanted one, but if he doesn't, that's fine. Just one question, maybe it's the attorney. Do elected officials have department? Do we know the EOs? Do they have credit cards, or can they have credit cards? Do we know if they do have credit cards?
They do come to us, all except one.
Pardon?
All except one elected official comes to us if they need it. Otherwise, they try to put it through accounts payable.
No, I was just wondering if they had their own and if they can get their own, because usually we just give them the budget. I don't see any reason they couldn't have their own, but I don't know if they have them.
You would know.
Oh, come on up, Jeff.
That would be a policy for the board.
Well, I don't think we can set a policy for the EOs, but maybe that's the state's attorney's question, but I was just wondering if we.
I'm sorry. It would be on an individual basis.
Yeah, I didn't know if they have them,
I-
if our EOs
think
have
they
them
do.
and. Okay, yeah, I was just curious, okay. But they could if they want, right? I assume they can, and we can't stop them from credit. Okay, I was just curious if they had.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, great. All right, so any other questions on the credit card? Nick, you look like you want to come up and say something?
I want some clarification, not to rehash it, but on the travel agency, because we had a lot of interest from the other elected officials, would you like us to reach out to all of them to see if they want to be part of that?
Sure.
And then we will modify the number accordingly, if we can get it done by next time, great. Because we were kind of surprised by the interest in it. It may very well will shift, but we'll work with every EO, see if they would like to be a component of that. And if they are, we'll add their money in. So we will bring it back when it's ready. And whether it's 2 weeks or 4 weeks, we'll have it back.
Okay.
For the credit card, it sounds like the decision's gonna be stick where it's at. And if the board's okay with it, we'll get this in place, see how it's working, and we can come back in half a year. We can report to you and see if it's working, and we can revisit it at that time.
Yeah, and I think as far as the registration fees for the conferences, Mary, I know that's probably an issue with your department. Maybe we can try to kind of figure something out with that. I know you said if they register early, we can invoice, but I know that's still an issue for you for your department, correct?
And I know, I just asked Mary in between, how does the registration work? And she said it's about 50-50. Okay, you got it?
Yeah, thank you, Mary.
It's about 50-50, which organizations will invoice us and which won't. If they won't invoice us, then typically the employee would pay. If the employee's unable to pay, I'll pay the registration. Or they'll talk to their boss about it. But typically for the ones that don't invoice us, they tend to be sort of the lower, it's a $75 one day kind of a thing.
Okay.
So they tend to be the lower ones. Things like NACO or NACED, the National Conference on Homelessness, those larger organizations tend to be able to invoice us.
Okay, yeah, because like that's what I think. I'm thinking, oh no, if somebody has their credit card max because they put travel on and their hot water heater goes out, right? And then they can't get their hot water heater, right? So that's an issue. And then maybe we can work on the turnaround time if they do have to put it on their credit card to try to get maybe.
There is in the policy now that if an employee does have to prepay the registration, they can get reimbursed before the event.
Okay.
We've developed a letter that I think it's submitted to the auditor to get that that expense reimbursed, so that if you register 2 months in advance, you're not carrying that cost for 2 months.
Okay, good. All right. Well, great. Thank you. All right. So I think direction for staff would be to move forward with the travel policy, bring it back to our next meeting as a resolution ready to go. And no on the credit card. Okay, great. Now we move on to our budget survey discussion. And should have received my email. So do you guys I know Member Schwarzy had a question about the budget survey. Did you want to go ahead with that, Member Schwarzy?
Sure, thank you very much. So, it's a great document, and I know it was put together by that company that did the strategic planning sessions with us. The only thing that, and I certainly probably wasn't vocal enough when I sat in one of those sessions, but I feel like under community well-being, we need to have an item regarding food insecurity. I just think that's such a huge issue. It's still a huge issue. I certainly keep in touch with our food pantries in Northern Illinois Food Bank and stuff, and it's just, they are as busy as they've ever been. So talking with Evan over here, sounds like it would be a question that we would have to ask. But if this board feels like they would be in agreement with me to ask that, if we can get that put on there, something regarding food insecurity.
Yeah, would the board have any concerns or with us asking if we can add a question about food insecurity, add that to the budget survey? Okay. So Evan, I'm giving you direction on that. And then Member Guston, did you have a question?
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with that. I think the more questions we have out there, the better. And also one of them would be with respect to mental health and addictions and things like that.
Did
So,
we have that on there?
and you may have something.
Yeah,
in
I
it,
think we did have.
And I may have
Yeah,
missed it.
yeah,
So
we
I
did
just
have that
wanted to
on there.
make sure
Yeah.
We make sure we have that in there.
Yes.
Not only addictions for alcohol and drug use, but gambling and all of the other things that people are exposed to. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on the budget survey? Is the board comfortable moving forward with the budget survey? Guys comfortable with it? Yes? Show of hands? All right, we have an overwhelming majority and we would, yes. Yes, we're going to ask Evan to add the question. If we can add that question, they'll add it. And I think our target date is to get this out early June, and have it out about 5 weeks maybe, and have it back in time, plenty of time for our budget preparations. So we have the answers back as we're doing the budget, which would be ideal. Kind of, would help us, maybe guide us a little bit in the direction we want to go. Okay, so we're ready then with that. We'll check and then you can get back to us about that, if we can add that question or not, and then we'll just plan to have that issued. I think Joan said first or second week in June, we'll push that out. And we'll put that out on social media, email, through our newsletter, everything, all those avenues. So, okay, great. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Just scanned through this. I did not see anything about mental health
Oh, no,
or substance use or substance. So if it's not in there and I breeze through
It
this
is a
very
community
quickly,
building. I thought
if we could make sure that at least that question is asked also.
okay. We'll double check with that, that if it's in there or not, but yeah, okay, thank you. Yes, and we can have that also if it's not in there. So we'll move forward with that, which I think will be great. Okay. Do we have any old business? Okay, do we have any new business? Okay, members, say, Member Krajewski.
Well, I guess pizza is being provided by Nick and Cheryl in the county board office.
Oh.
So I want to thank them for.
Oh, thank you. I did not know that. Thank you. Thank you, guys. And then, Member Krajewski?
Yeah, real quick, and just stay on our credit card theme. I think, I think the state allowed you to charge convenience fees. So private sector business sometimes would charge a 3.5% fee because they get charged for the credit cards, and then counties, states, we all have convenient fees when you go online to pay. And I believe the state just recently changed, the state changed it, at least that you can only charge now a max of 1%. I don't know if that applies to us at the county for all the ones we charge the convenience fees on, if we're limited to that cap of 1%. Or it's just the private sector out there, bars, restaurants, et cetera, that can only put a 1% charge for convenience fee for using a credit card.
Okay, so that would be,
I don't know if it applies to us or if it does, but we have to lower our.
We absolutely need to look at that. I'm glad you brought it up because there are a number of departments that do charge a convenience fee. We pass on whatever the credit card charges us, we pass it on to the customer. So we will look into that. That's
Because I know I think they just enacted the cap, and I know private side firms who are charging the 3.5.
Yeah.
On the fees now, or I think Illinois maxed at 1% now.
But we will absolutely look into that. Thank you
So
for
I
bringing
don't,
it up.
so I don't know if it applies to us. Now, the person did say the state site still has their whatever 3.5%. So again, I don't know if it applies to us, but
yeah,
just.
good question. Yeah, thank you. Thank you,
Thanks.
Member Krajewski. Member Ozak?
Yeah, that's a good point, Member Krajewski, but property taxes are due June 1st.
Right.
And I mean, I usually pay mine through check, but I imagine there's a date certain for when this law would be going into effect, because I think it's usually 3% for property taxes.
Twice in one
Gwen?
day, our
Gwen,
treasurer's
come on.
coming up.
It's so great to have you here tonight,
Treasurer
Gwen.
is still here. Thank you.
I know. I know.
I mean, if it's not an effective date.
We won't keep you much longer.
I just want to tell you about the credit card fees that are charged for people who pay, who use a credit card. It's charged to them because it's not passed on to you guys who don't use a credit card. It's 2.1%. You don't have to pay it so long as you use cash. You can use as you're paying online, you can use your e-check, whatever. So you don't pay it. I just want you to know we have the lowest rate in the state of Illinois and no one else can get our rate, just so you know. We've had it for a number of years and a lot of people have tried to get it and they can't. So we do the best we can, but if if you're making use of it, it never comes through our bank accounts at all. It goes directly to the people who are handling the credit cards. Okay?
Okay, great. Thank you.
My property
But-
taxes are not late yet.
Hold on, Gwen, we might have another question for you. Member Glassy, go ahead.
Not a question. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say it is a Tuesday night. Thank you for being here. It's been very helpful with you being able to
I'm
answer our
glad to
questions.
hear. He'll get his dinner when I get.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't cook, so. If we've been married a long time, he does not cook. My daughters told me I did a poor job. So, okay,
All
thank
right,
you. Is that
great.
it?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gwen.
Sometime
Appreciate
I'd
it.
like to talk with you about fees, though.
Yes,
Okay, when you have
anytime,
time.
Gwen, anytime you want, I'll put you on the agenda. I'd love to have you
Well,
come in
I
and talk about
talked a
that.
little bit with, Dawn, but I'd like to, she's over there.
Yeah.
Formally talk about
Yes,
some of this,
let's-
about
Jeff,
fees,
we'll hook-
because we need to
We'll
look at,
hook Gwen up.
people can only pay so much.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, we'll have you come in,
Thank you.
definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.
I make my speech now.
Thank you, Gwen. Okay, any other items under new business? Okay, seeing none with